Well, what's up again, guys? Brian here, the Three Tops Gamer, and I have a pretty awesome collaboration video to share with you guys today, as I was very, very honored to have Mr. Jakejames Lugo to help do a collaboration video as we would share our thoughts on what we think the initial price for the PlayStation 5 is going to be. Now, there have been several leaks online, from several sources. Some say that Amazon, might have leaked what the price of the PlayStation 5 was going to be, and I thought it would be cool to talk to another awesome gamer who enjoys the world of gaming as I do, discussing what we think the price of the PlayStation 5 should be. So I'd like to say thanks, Jake, for joining me here.
Appreciate it. Again, it's great to chat it up with you again. I appreciate you just inviting me on. And yeah, PlayStation 5, a lot of news happening, a lot of things happening.
Oh yeah. So just like in a quick summary, what was your overall thoughts on the overall presentation of the PlayStation 5 reveal itself?
For the reveal event, I thought it was better than what we got with the Xbox event. I feel like it was clearly a response to what we saw with that event in some way, even though that probably was all figured out way in advance beforehand. But I'm pretty sure there were some adjustments and audibles called on the play. And I thought that it was also very cool. We saw a lot of games. We saw a lot of gameplay, like actual promised gameplay that was just, okay, Sony just showed us what we needed to know, which was great. We finally got to see the console. I was hoping at that point beforehand that we were going to actually see the unit, and we finally did. We saw the unit itself. We saw the controller again. We saw other accessories like the headset, the remote, and a whole bunch of other stuff, which is great. The design was a little bit weird to me at first. I wasn't down with it at the very beginning when I first saw it because it looked a little bit weird. But eventually, like I keep telling everybody else, it's going to grow on me. I thought that was pretty cool as far as, the idea that, like, okay, this is a sleek-looking console. It's dope. But again, I wasn't really clicking with it at first. But I'm eventually going to be down with it at some point. But we got to see games. That's the biggest thing that we got out of this event. We got to see games, and we actually just got to see what the console looks like.
I'm right with you. In fact, I think they revealed 23, 24 games. I think that out of any E3 conference or just conference in general for PlayStation focus in general, I think that this was the most amount of games and just most amount of gameplay I've ever seen for an upcoming console.
I don't know, honestly, as someone that's gone to a couple, because I've gone to about 5 E3s now, and I've gone to every single time I've gone to the PlayStation conference in person to go see it there. I think that this one has the most on display to show, but probably not the most hyped one for me. In all honesty,
that makes sense.
Because again, we saw a lot of games here, a lot of games that are probably not for everybody. There's the whole bug snacks thing. I thought it was really weird. A lot of people were really hyping that up. A lot of people were really bigging that up, and I get it. It's cute. A lot of different bigger websites are saying yo, this is gonna be the bomb, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm fine with it. It looks weird, whatever. I'm more excited for the games like Spider-Man, Miles Morales. I'm excited for Horizon Forbidden West. I'm excited for a lot of the other games like Ratchet and Clank, stuff like that. That's cool to me. That's implicitly PlayStation. That got me excited. But as far as the most hyped event ever, nah, I don't know about that. It's still good though. That's still
no. I didn't think it was most hype. I just thought that in terms of the most to show, I think this is the most I've seen from any just main conference. In terms of hype, yeah, I've seen other ones that definitely had a much more better quality of collection of hyped games I was pumped up for. But I think for what we've had and comparing it to what Xbox did, I definitely think they really stepped up their game and really came out swinging big time.
And it's great for them because it works out in their favor. They've been riding high for a while with PlayStation 4, and they're in a great position compared to what they used to be way back when in the past right now. So the only thing that, obviously as far as, important info is that we didn't get was the release date, the specific date, and the price, which is what everybody wants to know.
And that is what we're going to jump into right now. Okay, so I'm sure we both have different maybe ideas about where they might want to go with the price, and obviously they have the disc version and the digital version. It appears that it looks like everyone wants to push towards digital. I personally hope that we at least have maybe one more generation with a disc because I'm an old school gamer. So
there's a lot of logistical reasons for it, but I think it's not going to be where we're going to just immediately just go cold turkey digital. I think that we're going to have a good long time, if not completely just have both available. I think that this is going to be the age of options where you have the ability to have what you want, or at least, be able to choose and pick and choose rather than just go with that one SKU that everybody's getting.
Okay, yeah, I absolutely love that if they keep that going. Okay, so I already got my... Hang on one second. Cleaning on. Gotta turn off my air conditioning. Can you hear it in the background?
Very lightly, but hardly even.
Hardly? Oh, okay. Don't worry about it. Okay, sorry. So I just pulled up my notes here in terms of what I think is going to happen. My question is, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first? So, like, in terms of
You can go first. Set the tone.
Okay. All right. There's been several leaks, several different sources, and I personally believe that the PlayStation 5, at least the disc version, is going to come at $499, and I think that the digital will either come at either, I want to say, $399 or at least $449. The reason being, I do not believe that even with as much success as the PlayStation 4 has had, I do not see them trying to push the whole $599 stick again. That did not go. That is probably
That was the
the
PS3.
single.
That
is the
PS3 time.
single worst reveal of a price I think I've ever seen for any console.
It's funny enough too, because a lot of people now that are into gaming now, some people still don't believe that happened. And there's like footage. You could see the reaction of the audience during the actual conference. I wasn't there at that conference. I watched it on like places like G4 and online. I remember the reaction to that, and people were like, "What?" You know?
Oh no, I remember watching that, and like back then, I was in high school, so that came out in 2006. That's when it was revealed and announced, and I think I was a sophomore in high school, and so
I just graduated. I literally just graduated that year. And
to think that the PlayStation 2's launch price was actually $299, and so I knew once I heard the man say $599, I was like, okay, there is no way I'm going to go to my parents and convince them to spend that much. And heck, even if I did have a job, I never
Do you
would
remember the quote that came out? I don't remember who said it, but do you remember that somebody came out and said, "Get a second job to get a PlayStation 3"?
Oh, man.
I remember that, and people were like, "Oh, word!" Like, okay,
I was like,
go get an Xbox 360.
Yeah, and that really did help them. And I think that when you look at the price of the PlayStation 4, which incredible price, $399, it didn't have any of the weaknesses that the Xbox One had when their console. And to think, I was at that E3, I was in that arena. That was completely electric what PlayStation did.
But here's the difference, though. The big difference, though, is that PlayStation 4 had stuff to play. It had the PlayStation 3 didn't have a lot to play at launch, as far as I know. I think they maybe had like one or two titles because there was stuff like Lair. I think Heavenly Sword was one of them. Yeah. There was like one or two others I'm forgetting. And compared to at the time, I think Gears was already out for Xbox 360. I'm pretty sure like there were some games out already for Xbox 360. I don't remember if Halo 3 was out and a couple other big titles for that console. But like that was the argument. It's like, okay, I can spend all this money now and then wait for it to have better games later, which is eventually is going to happen over time. Or I could buy an Xbox 360 at the moment and get all these big games that are out now that I could be playing now for the holiday.
Absolutely. And going back to the PlayStation, what I think PlayStation 5's price would be, I think that most people, after having experienced what the PlayStation 4 was able to give us in terms of quality at a $399, I think some people do know that, okay, PlayStation is a system, it is a group that you can stick with, and so paying an extra $100 more for the next generation, I think some people would be willing to do it just because of how well PlayStation 4 did. And I think maybe there could be $100 gap for the digital version. But the thing that I think the main reason for that is because if you actually look at some PlayStation 4s now, they are still selling at the retail price at $399. In fact, I think even some pros somewhere are even selling for a little bit more.
Is that bundles though? Is that bundles like bundles with the
it's just the regular PlayStation. The PlayStation 4 Pro. I know a lot of places are still selling that at like $400. So I find it hard to believe that they would sell the next generation and have it at the same price as the last generation. I think there has to at least be somewhat of a buffer. That's why some people think there'll be like $100 gap. I could see them maybe doing a $50 gap. I know 50 might seem not enough because the main difference is that this one has an optical disc drive and this one doesn't. I think a $50 gap would be okay. And then you have to throw into effect, I think that eventually probably I'm not sure if they would go for it, but I think once they start revealing maybe a slightly like modified version of the PlayStation 5, because every version of PlayStation outside of, I believe, the PlayStation 1 has had a modified version, I think there's going to be at least a slight price drop somewhere down the line, maybe in the second year, or maybe the third year of the PlayStation 5's life. And I think at that point, I think the PlayStation 4's price is going to go down a little bit because you don't want to have it too much that people don't want to pay for it. and you don't want it too low that you don't want to make a profit. So I think that the sweet spot would be, again, $4.99 for the disc version, $3.99 for the digital version. And even though I personally do not see myself paying for a launch game for launch system at launch, because one thing I definitely did learn from my experience with getting the PlayStation 4 at launch was that when I really look at the line of games, nothing really came out until about 5 or 6 months in with Infamous Second Son. So I actually feel okay waiting a little bit long, waiting for the library to build up, and then picking up a PlayStation 5. So that's just where I stand in terms of the price. What about you?
Okay, so the price that I want, at least, to be the sweet spot, I think is $4.99. I think that makes sense for a brand new console that's, fresh out the gate. And even though I think that Sony and any other business upmark their consoles a little bit compared to their previous generation, so that way they can make, that profit, or at least, make those big sales on the latest hardware, because that's just how technology works. As you look at Apple, like it happens all the time with places like Apple and some of the other companies that are releasing like brand new tech every single year. What I think is going to happen is going to be one of two things. I think either one, factors like obviously the coronavirus and the pandemic is going to come into play. And also remember, there was a chip shortage for a good long time, which I feel like could also affect not just the price, but also the production of these things, which could also uptick the price. So if you end up seeing that $5.99 or above $4.99 price tag, it's going to be because of things like that. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't want that to happen because I think it's very expensive. But keep in mind, these consoles have a lot of stuff going into them, and there's a lot of other factors that are influencing their production and their time when they're actually coming out. Remember, I think that we were probably at some point supposed to see some of this stuff like sometime last year or sometime like earlier in the year compared to what we're getting now. The other thing, too, I think, is with the PlayStation 5, when it has the digital edition only, or the digital only edition, which is that second SKU, I think it would take a really ballsy move. It would give them a lot of fortitude to go lower than what we expect, to go to like that $2.99 point. You want me to tell you why? The reason being is because PlayStation is in a position where they could sell these consoles at break even and have like almost no profit, but have the install base for a lot of people, and a lot of people end up buying games digitally on the PlayStation Network, because the reason why you get those digital consoles is to cut off the middleman, which is GameStop. That's the only reason, or one of the big reasons, I should say, as why you're seeing a lot of these companies do stuff like that, because of the used game market, because of the need to actually have that player install base, or that consumer base that is so loyal to you, they'll go directly to you to buy that stuff. Because look at the sales on PSN. It's the same way in in some instances like the Steam sales where they get ridiculous. Like I have a perfect example. This actually happened to me recently. I went to GameStop, right? And I saw that some games that were on the PSN that I could buy for a cheaper price were getting priced, at like $15, $20 plus dollars, for the physical edition, which might not even be complete in a place like GameStop because of the used games market and the way that works out. But going to PSN, just getting the digital edition of something like that, you could pay less than $10 for some of those games because of the flash sales or the Golden Week sales or the PlayStation Plus stacked sales, which is whatever sales going on, plus the PlayStation Plus discount. That's what they want. That's where I feel like they're going to make a ridiculous amount of money moving forward into the next generation. And that's why you get stuff like the digital only version of the PlayStation 5. But if we're going to just stick to just price, if I have to be a betting man, I would say $4.99 for the one that has the disc, $3.99 to $2.99 for the digital only one.
I would be absolutely shocked if they released the digital version for $2.99. That would be
a ballsy move, I'm telling you. And they could do it. And they can do it. And the only reason why I don't think it would happen is because, one, they still have to at least make, break even or make some sort of profit for the production of these consoles. But also, again, it's the latest hardware. Why would you sell something that is older hardware that's more expensive than what your latest console is? Granted, I'm pretty sure PlayStation 4 is going to go down in price in some place. That's given. Oh, yeah. It's going to happen from a lot of the retail outlets and stuff. But I feel like for the digital only specifically, that would be a ballsy move.
That would be a ballsy move. I mean, why you're going to release a next gen console at the same price?
Because think about it. If you're getting that digital only console, you're not buying physical games. Or if you're probably getting two SKUs of that console. More than likely, if you're the people that are diehard getting that digital only console, if you're not all about digital only, you're getting it as a second console like that. If you're not getting an Xbox Series X at that point, so you're going to be making sales for people buying stuff on PSN. That's just the way it is. People are going to buy games on the PSN, whether it's new PlayStation 5 games or backwards compatible games through PlayStation Now, or just PlayStation 4 games that you could play on the PS5, which I don't even think that they still talked about in like full detail. I don't think they've really clarified a lot of that.
Yeah, they didn't really clarify that at all. However, I think that I think one thing that some people might consider is that something you mentioned is that because of this whole coronavirus thing, I think even they said that they probably will not be able to have as many PlayStation 5 as like previous releases, and therefore that might be an indication that they might want to try to slightly boost up the price. I'm not sure they would do that because I think that everyone is just so in love with PlayStation as of right now. It'd be like, you know what? They did such an incredible job of PlayStation 4 generation. I think I'd be willing to pay almost anything because, heck, I know you can trust them. And when you have a loyal fan base that says, okay, you know what you're getting when you get a PlayStation, you know the type of quality, you know the type of games you're going to get. And so they might feel that the price that they pick for their console is justified because that's something that even they said that it recently came out in a statement. They say that they're not so much thinking about the price of the system; they're thinking about what the quality you will get out of this system is, and that's why
I feel like that's PR speak. Honestly, that to me that comes off as PR speak because that just tells me, or that gives me a signal. Is like it might be a little bit more expensive than what we think. But I think, like you mentioned, I think it comes down to the customer loyalty, like the actual fan base loyalty, and I feel like that's with everything that's going on as of now within the last couple of months, that's going to contribute to it as well. That's why I say like people are going to buy a lot of games on PSN.
Oh yeah, and one thing that one factor that really that kind of that gets me is the fact that the Xbox Series X has not released their price. I'll tell you this much. Here's what I think could happen.
They come out the exact same time. Watch.
Oh no! That would be.
They come out the exact same day. I feel like whoever does it first, the other one's going to do it afterwards. I have a strong feeling that's going to be the case. And you know what I also think too? I think that we're probably not going to get the price of this console until right at the fourth quarter, right when the holiday season is going to start.
That would be a real ballsy move because here's what I think Xbox could do. This is my theory of what they do. They have just seen what the PlayStation 5 could do. They've seen that they're going to do games. They've seen what the console looks like. I think, crazy enough as it sounds, what if they came out and said, okay, we are releasing our system at $399? I think that would put some pressure on PlayStation.
I don't think it's going to happen, honestly. I really don't think so. Because keep in mind, these companies still got to break even or make a profit on the console sales. And it's not cheap to put together an Xbox Series X. I don't even need to know the numbers. Just looking at the console and the stuff that it's doing to know that there's a lot of hardware in there, that there's money put into the R&D for that thing. You know, it's probably not ridiculously expensive to like put everything together, but it's going to cost them a good pretty penny that they need to make back in some way. I mean, it sounds good as far as like undercutting your competition, but yeah. I mean, I don't think Xbox is in a position like what PlayStation is in order to take a hit like that in order to play the long game. I think that Xbox right now at the moment for a lot of people, especially now after seeing the Series X and seeing that first presentation, is looking like a secondary console to a lot of people. Angry Joe said that. I know I was watching a video for his reaction where he was talking about, he said that exact same thing. It's looking like a secondary console to me after seeing both presentations so far, even though we're getting that second Microsoft event in July, you know, which I'm pretty sure we're going to see more stuff with that because again they already said we're going to see more games and everything else, but I feel like we'll get more details about the console itself by then.
Oh, that's true. It would just be kind of a crazy situation if they did release the Xbox at that price, knowing that PlayStation could not match them, and so you would have a really strange situation where the Xbox, just hypothetically speaking, the next Xbox is at a cheaper price. Like it'll probably match the price of maybe say the digital version, but the disc version is more expensive. And I think because they have not said what launch titles are. I think Xbox did confirm that something like Halo Infinite that
that's what they say. I don't know. That would be dope. I've said that. That would be awesome to have an Xbox console launching with Halo. That would be great. They haven't confirmed that, but I also say the same thing. Is like even though they haven't confirmed the launch titles for PlayStation 5, there's a lot more that's looking like it's going to happen around that time frame for PlayStation 5 than Xbox is. Real talk. Even though they didn't say... Well, they said like the release windows for a bunch of the games on the PlayStation 5, but a lot of them around that time frame, you're going to be playing stuff like Spider-Man Miles Morales. You're probably going to be playing Ratchet and Clank, I think, or something like that. I know you're not going to be playing Horizon because I think that goes into 2022 and a few others. But like, there's certain games that are within that like December, January time frame.
Yeah, and something that they just announced just recently is I'm not sure if you've seen this, but I recently saw a message on Twitter stating that something like Cyberpunk just got pushed back.
It got delayed. Yeah, which I think that's partially because there's going to be PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X versions of it. I mean, that's a given. for a lot of these games.
Oh,
And I think we're going to get the same thing with games like Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us Part 2. That's a given. Like
you really think they're going to release a Ghost of Tsushima? Really?
I would not be surprised. I would honestly not be surprised because it's Insomniac. That's the or not Insomniac, Sucker Punch, because it's Sucker Punch because they're a Sony studio. Like those big games. Look, we said the same exact thing when The Last of Us came out because The Last of Us was literally like the end of the PlayStation 3 cycle, and we ended up getting another edition of that on PlayStation 4, like shortly after.
But didn't that, wait a second. When did the PlayStation 4 version of The Last of Us did that come out within the first year or two?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it wasn't that long after The Last of Us.
It wasn't that long.
It really wasn't that long. But my point is, you're still going to get those games on PlayStation 5 at some point. But my other point is that, you know, the amount of games that you have that are looking like they're going to be available within that release window. Again, not release day one because they haven't said it. I don't think you're going to get a lot day one. But that release window of that month or two, maybe 3 months in, like from just I would even go as far as maybe like October, November, December, January into February. Like, I feel like there's a lot more potential for many more games to happen around that time frame for PlayStation 5 than there is for Xbox One X or Xbox Series X.
If you could pick a release window, like say primary week, what would you pick? Because
October, because that's right before.
Really?
I would say October into November, right before Black Friday.
I actually would have. I would
that happened. That's happened before with other consoles, and also, or you could even stretch it out to like September because that's right before at the start of Q4, right before the big holidays coming in, like that into the next year, because you already got games dated or saying that they're going to be like 2022, so like January, February, March into whatever afterwards, like that. So if you have the consoles come out, because I think they said Q4 or holiday 2020. For them. So that can mean any time holiday 2020. So Q4 is the holidays. So that's September, October, November, December into January. You could throw in there. So it could come out within any of that time frame.
I would be shocked if it came out in October. That would be very, very shocking to me.
I mean, you're not going to get Black Friday sales for these brand new consoles. Like, they're brand spanking new. But like that's the time frame where people are going to buy gifts for the holidays, for Christmas, for Hanukkah, for all those different things, for the holidays, for family. Like that's really where the games industry like makes the most bank on like everything. So for new consoles, people want the latest stuff for the holidays. Like that's ideal. It seems like.
Okay, so I think we've done a good job. Okay, let me ask you this nightmare scenario. What do you think would be worst case scenario for the PlayStation 5? Because I'm telling you this right now, if that console does come out at say like $599, I can guarantee you I probably will not be getting one for at least a year or two, because the thing with the PlayStation 3, I did not like when I even looked back, I did not even get a PlayStation 3 until it dropped its 80.
That's the exact same thing that happened to me. I got the second model PlayStation 3 too. I didn't get the first model.
Oh yeah, same here.
I waited a while. And also, let's keep it. I think the biggest nightmare scenario that could happen is that if it comes out at a high price point and there's a problem with the first wave of consoles. That happens notoriously all the time. With every console generation, there is always something that pops up. We had the yellow light of death for PlayStation. We had the red ring of death for Xbox. There was a bunch of. I think we even had something for the Wii as well, and the Wii U at one point. But like, it's a notorious thing. It always happens. But like for these consoles, especially now with everything that's happened with the pandemic and other stuff, I feel like that's the worst case scenario. That these consoles are expensive. They come out, and because of everything else involving the chip shortage or other stuff going on because of the production of these consoles for all these other factors, if there's a problem with the consoles themselves, that would suck. That would incredibly suck.
Yeah. And I think one major factor that I think is going to play a part, at least until probably for the first initial wave, is it is a bit surprising that they did not give us any initial launch titles just yet. When do you think we're going to start hearing about that? Because even with the PlayStation 4, I think the two launch titles that they had was like they had Knack and they had Killzone Shadowfall, which I ended up getting both of those.
No, I think also Lair was the other one.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought Lair.
No, was that
PlayStation 3?
Yeah, it's PlayStation 3. I'm sorry, no, I'm mixing it up.
No,
PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 was Killzone. No, actually.
Yeah, Killzone, Shadowfall, and Knack.
Okay, because I remember Knack was like heavily like publicized around the launch of it. I don't remember.
Yeah, and then there were like a few other games that are like multi-console games that had already been released on other consoles before.
That's right.
And that's what I'm really curious about, because I don't see Ratchet and Clank being a launch title, and obviously Horizon is not a launch title. So I am really curious.
Miles Morales, I think, is going to be a launch title, because keep in mind, I have a strong feeling that's also going to be on the PlayStation 4 version.
No doubt that's going to be PlayStation 4, because
I have a feeling.
Yeah, because a lot because it. I think they didn't necessarily clarify it in the actual launch announcement itself, but they did clarify later on that this is kind of an
It's
expansion
like Lost
on
Legacy for Uncharted. It's the exact same thing.
exactly, and a lot of people were really upset about that. It was just kind of just depressing.
They honest to God, they should not be upset because that's a full, at least a full release. Even though it's gonna be that $40 release. I don't think it's gonna be $60. I'd be very surprised if it is. But like, I think like they're gonna do the exact same thing they did with Lost Legacy, where it's another release that's on there, and I bet you that's the first thing they're gonna say, like, oh, you could play Spider-Man Miles Morales on PlayStation 5, like alongside whatever else. Like that makes sense to me, at least. As far as other games are concerned, I think that you start to hear more about release dates in the next couple of months. Because right now we're getting ready to go into July, like at least at the time we're recording this. So I would say September, October is where you start hearing like a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's just kind of waiting to see what Xbox says, and then I think once Xbox has finally kind of shown their hand, because I can tell you they're gonna do a complete 180. They saw their first reveal; it wasn't all that great. They've seen this. It's like, okay, we have got to really come out swinging. We cannot afford to have another mess up like we did when we revealed our last Xbox. We really have to make some serious changes, otherwise. Because no, I don't think anyone would argue that when it comes to the Xbox as One's generation. I'm sorry, I have to say this. I think it was a failure.
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was a failure. Maybe not. I think that they had a very rocky start because remember the Kinect was a huge thing, and they had to drop that like already, like when they were already in the midst of things, which was the best decision they could have made. When they started getting a lot of other people over at the Xbox staff, like a lot of those head people there, that's one of the first things I think that they made the decision. Besides getting all these other studios that had these big games, because then we started getting games like Killer Instinct. We started seeing like a lot of other like big properties for the Xbox One at the time. That was like, I remember seeing that unfold over the like 2 or 3 E3 shows. I remember that was a big deal when they first dropped Kinect because everybody was pissed off. It's like, oh, what do you do with this thing? Because remember there was a lot of games developed for it, and they were making it a big deal at one point.
Yeah. So just hopefully so I just hope that Xbox can learn from their mistakes and maybe we have a much more competitive generation. And I just hope that PlayStation doesn't get too cocky because don't get me wrong. I think Sony is having a party right now. I mean,
they're riding high. They're good. I don't know if they're having a party, but like they're good. They're good for now. I feel like they're in a much better position as far as a setup and what they could do next than the Xbox is. And I think Nintendo's on its own corner because, again, like it happens all the time, Nintendo's the only one that doesn't seem like it gets factored into a lot of this stuff. It's just like in the corner doing its own thing.
It's just weird because it always, like, I think after what happened with the Wii U, it always kind of felt like they were they're like a half generation behind because
I think that goes all the way back to the GameCube, dude. I think that goes yes, because I remember when everybody was on their thing where they would get a PlayStation 2 or an Xbox original and have their second console be a GameCube. I remember that when the GameCube dropped to $99, that was a huge deal, and everybody picked it up because they could get Smash Brothers on top of whatever they were playing on the other consoles. I feel like that's been a thing for a long time. Even with the Wii, as big as a hit as the Wii was, which again that was an anomaly compared to a lot of other stuff. But this is the same thing, at least with this console generation and moving into the next one, where the Switch is like again another console that you get alongside whatever one you're going between the other two. I feel like that's the same thing, which is fine for Nintendo because Nintendo's doing great right now with their sales and a lot of their games and a lot of the units that they've sold. Again for many different reasons, but. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, no matter what you are, PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X person, you're probably also going to have a Switch as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, I've said everything I need to say in terms of the PlayStation 5 price. I think this was really good. I mean, this is very informative. I even learned a lot of things. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to add anything.
I don't think there's really much to add. I think that now it's a wait and see what happens because we still have more stuff going on towards the end of June. Now, as far as like third party like reveals and stuff at various events, remember that we got an EA event tonight at the time we're recording this. That's going to happen. We also got a DC event that's going to happen at some point, which it's more DC Universe stuff, so it involves movies and such. But people are expecting the new Batman to be shown there. Or there's a lot of different things that are going on that we have over the next like month or so because we still got the Summer Games Festival going on. Jeff Keighley's been talking spicy on Twitter and such. And like, again, there's a lot of different things that could happen from now over the next few months. So we'll see. Yeah. Hopefully we hear some good news. Hopefully we hear the stuff we want to hear about soon.
Yeah, exactly. And I do believe we will indeed hear that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, I want to thank every guys for hopefully watching and listening to our little discussion. If you happen to enjoy content like this, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and press the subscribe button on my channel. But please also go. I will leave a link over to Jakejames Lugo's channel. Please subscribe to him. He has very incredible content. He does great reviews and great discussions with even other gamers other than myself. And like always, I want to thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and we will see you next time.
Later.